Quite a lot on our plate this week is all about the capital market all the way down from today, so keep your eyes on that. The Securities and Exchange Commission holds its crucial second quarter meeting, something akin to the MPC meeting of the central bank. All markets operators from issuing houses to registrars and brokerage firms, investment bank, everybody will be at the meeting scheduled for Lagos on Wednesday. Gwarzo, the head of the SEC, will be sitting at the head of the table, and part of the considerations will be the capital markets 10-year roadmap that was inaugurated late last year when Mr. Rumaote was the Director General of the SEC. Gwarzo, the man who took over office earlier this year, says he will keep that document and he's been working on it. Now, that will be the key focus of the meeting this week. There will be reports from the various subcommittees been working on this document and how to get this 10-year document up and running. Meanwhile, what do entrepreneurs want from the capital markets? People who are in what we call one-man businesses or self-owned businesses in Nigeria. Oftentimes we talk about raising money from the market from the big companies' point of view. But there was a gentleman who had a conversation with our own Tempo Ashaju, Kayode Fahm, who is the CEO of a small company, we call it company because of his capitalization. Sorry, no pun intended. He's a life coach, he's a motivator and a producer. And he talked to Tempo Ashaju about his views about the capital market and how both the market and the government can help. Let's listen in.
I personally think, one, is it a tight fiscal economy? I mean, fiscal discipline is something I think we're not seeing enough of. I'm actually hoping the current administration, Buhari administration, ensures more discipline at the fiscal level and budgetary levels. Because I think when there's more fiscal discipline at the budgetary levels and fiscal levels, it's more attractive to international investors. And I think then international investors come in, they bring that money in, and that money now flows through the economy and now flows into our stock market. So why is that important? Because we want our stock market to go up, because you're talking about wealth creation. Well, wealth creation to me is equities. You know, I mean, everybody should start having some sort of personal portfolio and start buying stocks everywhere in the developed economies. Every individual has got some kind of stock portfolio, thinks about the stock market, thinks about investing, and whatever savings you have, you think about investing for the long term, for retirement planning, you name it, you know, illness, injury, family, you know, you're going to get married one day, put money aside, put money aside. Where do you put it? In the stock market, and you now start accumulating. That's the wealth creation. Besides entrepreneurship and the fact that, you know, people, you know, are dreamers and do want to set up their own businesses and want to create products, which is important. And by nature, I think Nigeria has always been a very entrepreneurial sort of, you know, enterprising economy, and that we need to encourage that. But despite that, wealth creation at the individual level has got to be encouraging people to save and invest in products like the stock market and have some kind of portfolio. And, you know, those who've got a little bit more money, affluent, high net worth, of course they'll have larger portfolios, will be more diversified. But you see what I mean? These markets are going to become more developed. Bond markets, stock market, all these markets are there. Financial markets will develop, and that's really where you get your wealth creation.
What do you make of private capital raising for entrepreneurs in this country?
I think really it's got to be PE, private equity investors coming in, and again, it's government to encourage that inflow of international investors and domestic investors to sort of pool funds that can be, you know, in a foundation, you know, pooled investment vehicles that can be used for entrepreneurs, you know, in some capacity. But it's something that I think, you know, private-public partnership. You know, I think Lagos State has done a great job in that. Other states, I think, can mimic that, because whatever happens at the federal level has got to trickle down. So the states themselves have got to seize this. And I think this sort of idea of private-public partnership, I think, is critical, where they can come together and say, look, let's create an enabling environment for entrepreneurs. If they have a business plan or business idea, that is bankable. I mean, the banks used to use this word bankable, but I sometimes find that bankable is fraught with all sorts of, you know, hurdles that are very difficult for a lot of people to overcome. But maybe, you know, there can be some sort of foundational funds pulled together that are a little bit more flexible. And I think it's that flexibility that's required, even though we still need certain criteria met that an entrepreneur can present to this fund or this group, or, you know, vehicle and then get some amount of money to now go ahead and do their business.
You've talked about banks and trying to soft pedal for entrepreneurs to be able to get access to funding. But what should be their role in promoting enterprises in the nation?
I think the banks have, it hasn't been easy for banks. I mean, they've, costs are high. They've got their own sort of hurdles that they've got to get over. And that's the reason why they've got to be very, very careful in terms of their asset base and their ratios that they, in terms of liquidity and in terms of capital adequacy. They've got to really make sure that the numbers work. And because of the infrastructure environment that we've had up to date, banks have obviously found it tricky to sort of now start lending. And of course, what they experience, in the wake of the collapse of the stock market, I think really may put them on the defensive. And that's the reason why now trying to get loans from banks right now is almost impossible. I mean, it's not, of course you can, but it's very difficult. I'd like to see banks look for creative ways to help entrepreneurs who are serious about what they're doing and have great ideas, strong ideas. The so-called bankable projects, okay, let's fully understand what that means. And is there any way that, again, there could be a little bit more flexibility? The only problem I have with banks is very inflexible. And sometimes dynamics of Nigeria require a bit more flexibility. And it's just, I think from a credit risk perspective, you've got to just be able to sort of monitor credit risk and, maybe, just make some adjustments. Maybe the credit risk has just got to be, adjusted a little bit. The models have to be adjusted a little bit to allow flexibility for certain types of projects. That's really what I would say.
What would you suggest should be done in the areas of knowledge and skills acquisition for entrepreneurs who get out of school and have limited knowledge about the line of business or initiative that they're going into?
I believe in something called continuous education or continuing education, which means education is continuous. And if you didn't get, the training or the knowledge at school, you've just got to try and get it elsewhere. And I think institutions have got to invest in continuing education, which means workshops, trainings, either in-house or, outsource, external trainings. Get facilitators in from overseas, or just get facilitators in domestically. I mean, we have a lot of people who've come back from abroad, like myself, who are here now. And what did I spend the last, certainly much of 2010, capacity building and training. So there's a lot of people doing trainings, and I think institutions, organizations have to make use of them and run in-house programs as well, because you're saying that people coming out of college don't have the skills, but the people in these organizations have the skills, and resources have to be deployed to pass that knowledge on. And I think that's another way, we can fill this skills gap or skill shortage.
We've got so many media entrepreneurs in Nigeria, but what can we begin to do in the area of quality production, meeting global standards?
We've got to just keep working hard, damn hard. We've got to keep practicing, refining our craft, and we've got to pursue excellence. And we have to be relentless about that. We're not just being compared to local, we're being compared to international. When you look at what's being produced internationally in every level, every industry, music, banking, infrastructure, whatever, manufacturing, I mean, out of China and India, I mean, the quality is so high. So we've got to step up to the plate and get the same, if not better, quality. I think we can do it. I think we have the faculties. I think we have the intelligence. Our problem is discipline. So we've got to be more disciplined. And I implore Nigerians really to force that discipline, to force their families, their children, their workers to be more disciplined and to raise the bar. Don't settle for nothing less than excellence.
And with all that we have discussed so far, how can the government key into these plans for the development of entrepreneurship in Nigeria?
The government has just got to do what it's meant to do, and that is to lead this country the right way. And leadership is all about doing what's right, following through on what you say, and being very, very disciplined about what you intend to do. Okay, I'm talking about pursuit of excellence. The government has to pursue that excellence. So zero tolerance to corruption, zero tolerance to indiscipline, okay? Zero tolerance to all these things that have held this country back, okay? Invest in in enterprise, invest in key infrastructures that are needed, power, roads, you name it, infrastructure, so that our creative capacity, the people who have the capacity, can do what they need to do to compete internationally.